Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Earth and Sky. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you out there in our virtual audience, and those of you who've joined us here. I love seeing your smiling faces. It really brings a lot of joy to me, and I'm just going to jump right into it. So we are coming into that wonderful fall. Well, actually, we're coming into winter here pretty soon by the way the weather looks, but I've been doing a lot of self-study this month, and the topic that we're going to go into is with the concept from the Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucians say that it's best for you to always have knowledge through experience. So while it's very good to learn from others, to learn and see what other people are talking about, to go to lectures, to read things in books, and to have a lot of that knowledge, truly the best knowledge, the way you can really find your truth within yourself, is through experience. So as you're out there learning and you're pulling in all of these different things, figure out how you can apply it to your own life so you can find out if it rings true for you, so that you're not just telling it to people and you're not just expecting because you read it somewhere or you heard it from a reliable source that it's truth, because how would you know it's your truth unless you actually tried it? It's possible that the person you learned it from, maybe they just heard it from somewhere else and they haven't actually tried it themselves. And so it's important to figure out from your own experience to learn what truth is to you. So as you learn, whether it's from any of those different options, really learn how to apply it. So if you're somewhere and you're learning a lot of different things, figure out what your top things are that you're really appreciating the most or that you're wanting to learn about the most, so you can see if you can apply it to yourself and to your own life through experience, developing it so that it becomes your own truth. And then as you teach that way, because we can all be students and teachers in life, once you've learned and you've applied it and know through experience that it's your truth, then you can teach others, whether it's just through casual conversation, or maybe you're helping somebody, maybe you're lecturing yourself, but we're all teachers in different ways, so know from experience when you're teaching people what your truth is. This last month, I spent the entire month really in a lot of self-study. October is usually my biggest month because of the holidays that we celebrate in October. There's a lot of things that usually come up, so I'm usually really out there, very busy and very booked in October. This year I decided to kind of switch that around a little bit and go into a lot of self-study. So I had many classes and went internal for a lot of things this last month, which is why you were watching some of our past episodes the last couple Sunday mornings. Thank you for hanging in there with that, and I hope you enjoyed those oldie but goodie videos that we put out there. And but so I really did a lot of study, and I really decided to go internal. I completed my medical Reiki training, so I can now work in the operating room. And then I spent a week out of town starting the journey to becoming a shaman, which is a 1-year journey. And then I spent a week out of town again in a different location, completing the requirements. So I'm now, instead of an affiliate teacher, I'm a professional teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. So that's a lot of study. That's a lot of learning for 1 month. Originally, I had planned on doing videos in between for each of those weeks so that I could share some of the stuff I was learning with you, but I really found that it was much more important for myself to go internal, to kind of close down a lot of the rest of the world so that I could really fully embrace the knowledge that I was learning and really bring it inside, find out what rings true to myself, what things I might need to modify a little bit, and then really bring in that learning from experience. You get experience in a lot of different ways. Sometimes you get experience from going internal and meditating and applying it to yourself in a very deeply and personal way, depending on what it is you're learning. Sometimes that experience, so you can find out what your truth is, really comes from going out and trying it with other people. Maybe you're learning new techniques. Maybe it's a technique for communication in a relationship, or maybe it's a technique to find how to be happy in your life. Whatever it is you're learning, sometimes you have to go out and apply those, and sometimes you have to go within, but really figuring out so you can take in that, what the Rosicrucians say is the best way to learn your truth, coming from experience. And so I felt like I really needed to do a lot of that this last month. A lot of the study wouldn't be worth as much if I didn't integrate it and really see how to apply it in my own life. If I just went through the classes and wrote down all the notes and learned it and then maybe did some of those techniques, and maybe most of them would get lost over the months to come. And that's what happens with a lot of people. I see where people will go to motivational events or speakers and things, and they will get really excited while they're there, and they leave, and a few days later they're kind of might remember a couple things, and then they're just back to life as usual. Well, the way you can flip that around in your life can be applied to many different things. You can learn from so many things. It might be a casual conversation that you had. Maybe you go to one of those motivating lectures. Maybe you're watching YouTube videos and you get some inspiration there. But really bring it in so it has meaning by finding out how to apply it in your life. Finding out how to apply something that really speaks to you, and then making changes in your life. So what I want to do is encourage each of you to think about the things that you've learned recently and how you can integrate it into your life so that that knowledge is in you. It's part of your truth, and you find out what your truth is with it too. Maybe it'll be exactly the way you learned it. Maybe what you learned is what resonates completely, but you don't know until you apply it and you have experience personally with it. And you might end up finding you have to modify some of what you learned, because maybe what's true for someone else isn't exactly true for yourself. So figuring out how to make it what your truth is through experience. We really live in a society where there is so much information out there. There's so much information shared practically from every direction you turn. Somebody has an opinion on something, it seems, too. So not only do we have the ability to learn from books or from television, but also from technology. It's like any answer that you're seeking, you can pretty much find from just a few clicks on a keyboard, and you can bring it up in front of yourself. Where we used to go to the library and spend our time scouring through books to find what we were searching for, now you pull it up on a keyboard and you wonder, is it really true? Is it true for you? Is it true for them? Maybe what you found is something that someone learned from somebody else because they heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody. And if you've ever played the telephone game, you've seen the way things, when they are said many times and not experienced, that truth can change a lot. The words, the meaning, the process can change a lot. So as you're learning, bring it in, fully experience it, integrate it into your life, and it might mean that you're bringing in less information sometimes because you're taking the time to embrace, integrate, and experience it. And so it's really, really important, whether it's something for self-improvement or personal matters, really even business, techniques, any of those things. It's so important to figure out how to apply it, integrate it, make it your truth. Know that you can tweak and change whatever information comes to you, because your truth might be somewhat different from pretty much anybody else out there, or it might be very similar to the most average person out there. So figuring out what it means to you. So when you're learning what someone wrote, do you know if they're just reciting what they read, or do they know from experience? And does that advice work for you? And truth might be different for you, just like some people like a hot climate and some people like a cold climate. It doesn't mean that one's right and one's wrong. It just means that it needs to mean something to you personally. That's how you start to change your life. That's how you start to integrate. That's how you create the life of your dreams, because you're out there and you're assimilating and bringing it in and doing something with it. And then that's how you're going to remember that truth in years to come, because you've done something with it. You didn't just get motivated in the moment. You actually have done something and carried it through in your life. And practical use and experience of knowledge is really the best teacher. And as you're experiencing it and you're practicing with it, over the years, that experience might even change. You might realize that something that's worked for you for many years, now you do a little bit different as you've matured and as you've changed. And so then you might start teaching it a little bit differently as you share with other people what you've learned and what truth is to you. So I'd like you to think of one thing that you've learned recently in your life, and one thing that you would like to really apply to yourself. It doesn't matter where you've learned it, it doesn't matter what it is, but thinking of one thing that you would really like to apply to your life. and then discover if through experience the knowledge is true to you as you learned it, or if there are modifications that you might use to make it more true for you. It can be a technique that you have learned. It might be that you're working on communication skills, or you're working on listening skills, or whatever it is. Or it might be a technique for healing if you're a healer. It might be a technique for your job, or it might be something that you're working with in any sector of your life. As I mentioned earlier, a technique for bringing more happiness into your life, finding ways to laugh every day. Whatever it is, something that you've learned recently, thinking of one thing that you're going to work on through this whole next week to learn how to apply it, and really putting it into use in your life every day. Figuring out maybe what time of day you're going to start focusing on it, or think about it when you wake up in the morning, and then just work on applying it throughout the day and finding out what is true for you with this knowledge and how you can use it to improve your life. And that'll be one of the best things that you can do as you're trying to make your life better, to create the life of your dreams, to manifest what you want in your life by bringing in this knowledge and releasing it through experience, creating it, letting it brew within you, so that through experience you let life be your teacher, and you let that knowledge and that experience well up within you. You might find that there are some things that you thought would come from someone very credible that really meant nothing to you. When you tried to put it into applicable use, it just didn't work. So you move on to something else, and you realize, for you, that just didn't work, so you try something different. You might even want to keep a journal as you're doing this too, so that in years to come you realize, hey, this worked really well, and that didn't really work. So we're going to bring these together into what really works best throughout your life. And it might even be a method of bringing in that joy, or a method of, if you're wanting to lose weight, it can be methods of that. Whatever it is, really thinking big. It might be methods of manifesting in life, and so figuring out what works and what doesn't, what rings true for you and what doesn't, and thinking about something that you learned that you can apply to truly know that knowledge from experience. I often try to bring in one piece, at least one piece, often 3 pieces, whenever I go to any lecture or meeting or whatever it is that I'm doing in life, where I'm around a group of people or I'm trying to learn from somebody. I try to think of usually 3 things that I can add into my life afterwards. And sometimes it's really not even about the message that they're talking about instead, but what I gain from the meeting or the lecture or whatever is the dynamic that people have. Sometimes I'll learn by just watching people, the relationship dynamics that they have, the way they speak, the way they talk, the way they move, things like that. There are many things that you can use to bring into your life to really make your life what you want. I know when I was younger, I used to be actually quite shy, which you probably wouldn't know now, but finding some positive role models that I could watch and I looked at and I thought, I kind of like those traits. I think I want to bring them in. And then just finding out what's true to you, what resonates with you, and bringing that in, letting yourself guide you as you create your own experience, finding out what the truth is in messages, so that when you speak, when you teach, when you live your life, you're not just talking about what other people say, but you know from experience that what you've brought into your life is true for you. So I hope that helps you with a little bit of guidance on knowing how to learn not just from what people say, but learn from experience. Find your truth from experience, and then when you quote and you talk to people, you can say, from experience, I know that this is true. And think about how well you can design and create your life when you are doing things all from experience, and not being afraid of if certain things fail, certain things don't work, knowing that that's all part of the learning too. That's all part of the experience. Some things work, some things don't, and you just keep working at it and then building those things that do work. And so I hope that you enjoy our videos. If you haven't already, please hit the like button on this video and hit the share button to share it out with your friends and family, and subscribe to us on YouTube and like our Facebook page, Earth and Sky Center. Thank you so much and have a fantastic week.